The Chicago Sky lose yet another player, both to injury and one that's going to be going to play over in Eurobasket. We'll talk about that, plus previewing the game against the New York Liberty going down tonight. All that and more right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
What's going on, Chicago Sky fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. I'm the host here, Haize. You can follow me at CEO Haize if you choose to do so. But we're not going to go around the W any today. This is just focused strictly on the Chicago Sky. And unfortunately, it looks like Rebekah Gardner is going to miss some serious time for the Chicago Sky. We don't quite know if she's going to miss the entire season. It looks like it may be going towards that, but she just had recent surgery on something, is the exact quote, being broken in her foot. This adds her already to the growing list of players that we're missing either via injury or something else, and it's been a tough go for the Chicago Sky when it comes to injuries. And it's crazy because initially starting off this season, if you thought anything was going to hurt the Chicago Sky, it would have been just the newness of the roster. And while that has had its growing pains as well, specifically offensively that we've talked about, it's mainly the injuries. We already lost Isabel Harrison, who's going to be out indefinitely. And you know, with something going on with her meniscus and having surgery on that, we now lose Rebekah Gardner to surgery on her foot, which is going to keep her out an extended period of time. Add that to Lee Yarou, who's already been said to miss this whole season because of what's going on with her. Ruthie Hibbert, who's out, and we don't know exactly when she's going to return either. Morgan Birch, who stepped into our starting power forward because of Isabel Harrison being down, she's also out, but it seems like her timeline is a little bit more straightforward, that she will be back before the end of the season, probably even as early as next week. But you add that to just the growing list of things that are going on with the Chicago Sky, and I think they've done a great job weathering the storm with all the injuries so far this season, but there's only so much weathering that you can do, right? And at some point, it's just the talent level is just going to come back and hurt the Chicago Sky. That's it, right? Players are listed as bench players and role players for a reason. And while Robin Parks, Elena Smith have both shown decent parts of their game, it's only so much that you can expect from them with the growing list of injuries and just how many rotational pieces and key pieces to the rotation that we're missing. But you can also add to that, unfortunately, the young player who stepped up and played pretty well for us, Kristine Anigww, who's going to be out for about 6 to 8 games. It looks like she's going to go over Eurobasket to help Great Britain play in that Eurobasket tournament. And with that said, she can be gone from the Sky for an extended period of time. Looks like at the earliest she can be back at June 18th. The latest probably June 25th. But that really depends on how far they go in that tournament and before she's away. And while it's a great opportunity to play for your country, and I don't think anybody ever feels negative about that, even James Wade saying this in regards to Kristine Anigww being out. It's important that you're supportive. She's trying to prioritize the WNBA as much as possible, and I thought that was important. I didn't want to hinder her in any way. Keep in mind, Anigww is also on a hardship contract with us with players that we've already been missing. James Wade has already said that he does plan on filing for another hardship so we can get some more players in here, some more bodies, which we do need severely. And when it all comes down to it, the Sky are doing the best that they can. And I think that considering all factors, they've done a pretty commendable job. That defense has come in and been pretty solid and really has been what has propelled them. The offense is still a work in progress. We have not seen a very efficient game from our biggest offensive pieces yet this season, all three of them. And we're going to need that when you look at who's coming in the building for us next up. And that is the New York Liberty, right? And when you look at that Liberty squad, we're going to need to be on our P's and Q's defensively just to make it through. You cannot in any way overlook the New York Liberty, because I tell you what, the way that they've been playing, how Stewie, Vandersloot's coming back in town, Sabrina Ionescu have all found their balance. And then you have the MVP, Jonquel Jones as well, who really so far in the season has kind of just been picking her spots, letting the game come to her, right? Really kind of being the glue that has kept that team together as they figure out their way through this new period of time, and all these new pieces are finding their balance. She's the one who has sacrificed probably the most out of her game to make sure that it's worked up until this point. But when you have a player like Breanna Stewart who comes in and is just amazing, the Chicago Sky, and especially what they're missing on the forward position, is going to come back, and they need to be able to step it up, right? And, you know, you look at players like Sika Kone, who has played pretty adamantly and played pretty well for the Chicago Sky, and I love the job she's done overall. You still have to look at that and say, what are the Sky going to do with the New York Liberty today? And Sika Kone is going to be a player who just continues her development over the time, and her playing that solid brand of defense is going to be important. But Elena Smith as well, who has stepped up pretty well for the injured Morgan Burch and Isabel Harrison. I love how she's active on both sides of the ball and how she can hit the shot. We're also going to need Robin Parks to step up as well, especially with Anigww out. There's only so much that you can do, like I said, with injuries. But when you look at the Chicago Sky's offense thus far, it's left much to be desired. Our defense has been much ahead of our offense, and that isn't something that I necessarily expected coming into the season. I thought that this team would take a while to find its stride overall, but the defense has come in and been legit. And James Wade, he gets props. I have my doubts about James Wade as a GM and as a coach sometimes, but at the end of the day, he went out and got the roster that he wanted, and he's seemingly getting the most out of them that he can. And defensively, we're going to have to be locked in tonight against the New York Liberty. We're going to have to get rebounds and rebound as a team. We're going to have to play passing lanes, right? We're going to have to not commit the silly fouls that we've committed at times and stay out of foul trouble. Especially with all the injuries that we have, we need all hands on deck. But all those hands have to be locked in and engage and execute well. And that defensive side of the ball is where we need to be focused the most. Because if you come in and you're lax against the New York Liberty, they are going to get on a roll. And if we allow them to score a bunch of unanswered points against us, that game can get away from us before it even really gets started. The Chicago Sky have to be locked in defensively, and we have to play more efficient offensively. There have been times during the season where our offenses look good, especially when we get out in transition. The ball movement, how we pass the ball, how we move it, beautiful at times. But we have not shot the ball efficiently. Kahleah Copper has not shot the ball efficiently herself, right? Courtney Williams has been very up and down. Marina Mabry has had one game of really getting going a lot for us, but we need more than that. This team tonight has to be locked in. It has to be engaged. It has to be focused on execution. And even if you do execute a good game, right, to a great game, that still only puts you in position to contend with the New York Liberty at most, right? We have to be almost perfect tonight, or hope that the New York Liberty come in and they're a little sloppy. But either way, you got to control what you can control. You have to play well where you can play well at. You have to do and execute on both sides of the ball extremely well. That's it, right? Go through your progressions. Go through your offense. Run your plays. Let the pick come and set in before you go. Because I tell you what, the momentum, if it gets going in the favor of the New York Liberty, that's a tough thing to overcome, especially for this team that has been struggling so much in this part of the early season on the offensive side of the ball. We're going to need Kahleah Copper to play well. Hell, we're going to need Courtney Williams. We're going to need those players to execute. Marina Mabry, how she can shoot that three and overall score and get in the rhythm. We're going to need that. We're going to need Elizabeth Harrison and our forwards to get ready for the onslaught that's going to come to them down low. You cannot come into this game against the New York Liberty lacking. You can't, because if you do, it's going to get away from you before you even know what happened. That's it. We have to play our brand of basketball. And while the Chicago Sky were at least before the last game, up in the top 5 as far as field goal percentage, that has not necessarily felt the way that it looked on paper, right? But you got to look at it. The New York Liberty right now are averaging the 5th most points in the WNBA at 80.3. You can't do that. Now, we average the most defensive rebounds per game at 38, or second most rebounds per game at 38.8. That is how we're going to have to make our bread and butter today against the New York Liberty. Every missed shot, we have to gain rebound, period. The New York Liberty also the second best team as far as field goal percentage, averaging 44.6. Blocks per game, the Chicago Sky number 5, but the New York Liberty are right above them at number 4. Defense is going to be important today, and you want to avoid sending them to the free throw line. We have to come in and perform. That's it. And then when you look at the execution on the offensive side of the ball, man, like I said, you cannot come in here lacking. You cannot come in here jacking up bad shots. You cannot come in here taking the shots early in the shot clock that do not help the Chicago Sky. The Chicago Sky went from, right now we are averaging the 11th most points per game in the WNBA of only 12 teams. We got to score more efficiently. We have to. There's not any reasons, excuses, or anything else to point towards us not being able to do that. We're the sixth best team as far as right in the middle of the pack. We are the middle team as far as field goal percentage. We need to be better than that. Our three-point percentage, we're fifth in the WNBA, and that's shocking at sitting there at 33%. We need to control our controllables better. We have to come into this game, and we have to perform. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we need our stars to step up like stars. We need Kyle. We need Elizabeth Williams defensively, especially. That anchor defensively, that rebounding is going to be key in games like this. Can the Chicago Sky step up and execute enough to stay in this game against the New York Liberty? That's what we're going to see tonight, guys. Make sure you guys are tuned in as well. We'll get a post-game live stream up for you guys. You can follow the show at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a voicemail and our text message for our mailbag episode, 773-270-2799. I'll see you guys the next time we go to Skytown. Hopefully we're talking about a dub, too. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.